Howdy, how y'all doing today? My name is Dennis Jones, and you're with me at the Bryan Museum. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of Texas and Texas history. Everything in this museum has a story to tell, and I'm going to help you learn some of those stories and maybe discover some stuff about your own self that you never really knew. Why don't you follow me this way? Hi, I want to talk to you real quickly about salt. When was the last time you had to wonder about where you were going to get salt? Did you know you can't live without salt? You got to have it. You might restrict your salt intake, but even your food has some in it. But salt to the pioneers and the people on the frontier before there was refrigeration was extremely, extremely important. You needed the salt to preserve your food, not only for yourself to live, but also to preserve your food. If you can't eat it right away, or dehydrate it in some manner, it's going to go bad on you. And as a result, you're going to waste that food, and you can't have that happen. So you need to have salt. There's several places you can get salt. There are salt mines. In Texas, we're blessed with things called salt domes, but you have to kind of dig down to get to those puppies. In Mexico, there are salt mines, which they've succeeded in digging down in. A lot of the people on the coast would come to the coast with their big cane boiling pans. They used to grow the sugar cane and then boil the cane in these pots, these big pots, huge things. And then they would make syrup, and they would make sugar, and they would make rum. And they made a lot of all three. But when they weren't doing that, they would bring these to the ocean and fill the pots with salt water, and then boil those pots with the water in them and scrape the salt that caked out on the sides of the pot, and until they had a large quantity. Sometimes it would take them weeks, if not months, to come down here and generate enough salt to have enough to preserve their meat and have for their family for a year. I got to tell you, quite frankly, I don't know how much salt it would take, except it would be a lot. This is how you would use it. You would butcher your hog and then take the select pieces that you wanted, and you would probably box them up in something, a barrel or a tub or a wooden box, and then you'd cover it literally in salt, and then you'd leave it there for weeks at a time. So salt is really, really critical. You can tell that this is sea salt because it kind of has a brown color to it. And I want to tell you something a little bit in case you don't know about the luxury of your salt today, and that is that it has iodine in it. Iodine is something that's even a lot probably more scarce than salt in the wild world. And but if you don't get iodine, what you do is you get a thing called a goiter. In the 20s and 30s, 1820s and 30s, excuse me, it wasn't uncommon to see people with these big, large swellings on their neck. And the reason is because they had a deficiency in iodine. The salt that you eat today, unless it's sea salt probably, is iodized. In other words, it's been treated with an ever so small amount of iodine to be sure that you don't get these really big, scary-looking goiters. We've talked a little bit about salt, and this is in a salt horn. You see that it's written salt, S-A-L-T, on the side of it. Not that anybody or everybody could read that, but that's what it is. And can you hear that? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. But that's the salt inside this salt horn. Why would we keep salt inside a horn, of all things? Well, we got to carry it in something, right? But why a horn? Well, it's the only thing we had? No, we got plenty of containers, or we could make a container. The reason we keep it in a horn is because the horn absorbs moisture. This is the equivalent to some rice or a cracker inside your salt shaker that absorbs the moisture, so your salt is always soft and smooth, and when it rains, it pours. That's the reason that we kept the salt in a horn, and that's also the reason that we kept gunpowder in a horn. So you want to come to Texas? Well, among other things, you better bring your salt, or you better have a place where you can find it, and find it fast. Have a good day.